Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we have the first half of the MCC Twitch Rivals Color The World teams. I think that's what the event's called. It's the EU Twitch Rivals event, the, second version. First one was the one I played in, so now you should know which one it is. Anyways, surprisingly, the teams were getting announced already this week. For those of you who were at the stream, you'll know that I was late because I was outside. When the teams got announced. I just didn't think that they would announce the teams 2 weeks in advance rather than 1 week in advance, although I was aware that the teams were done, so I guess my bad. But yeah, we got a surprise 5-team announcements already. I'll be live today, Friday, to look at the other half. I'll be live at around like 10 a.m. Eastern probably, which is 3 p.m. BST, so if you want to be there, stay tuned for around that time slot. And yeah, anyways, let's get into the teams. No more yap. Let's just get into the fun business. So, this is the red team announcement, the first team that was announced for this event, consisting of Jeremy Vriezer, Link Tiger, Milkberry, and Sneaksnag, with Link being a newcomer for this event. He is a Dutch content creator just like Jeremy, and Maddie coming in for her second event, her first event being MCC Rising 2, and then Sneeg also being on the red team again for Rivals, just like he was last time he played in Rivals. Very exciting team for sure. I don't really know how good this team is. This team doesn't have a standout top player. However, Sneeg's most recent performance in Rivals I think was quite impressive, and I also know for sure that Jeremy's most recent performance in Rivals was impressive as well. I don't know how good Link is. If he's willing to put in the work, I think he could do really well. And Maddie, I know, is not very frequent Minecraft player nowadays, but also has performed decently well in Block Wars in the past, has played a few times, so should be a pretty decent team, but you'll see some of the other teams, the balancing is definitely a bit of a question mark, but I think that might be partially on purpose, because I think it's also not meant to be like the most competitive event. The overall balancing or the overall skill of this roster is a bit lower trending than the past MCC, at least, and some of the ones from last year, so exciting regardless. Anyways, that is the red team announcement. Now we go to the orange team, which is kind of an insane one. Especially to be on orange is kind of a surprise, but it consists of Wolfeei, Hannah XX Rose, Siren, and Tina Kitten. Siren being a newcomer as well for this event, a VTuber who does frequent content with the AlphaRad friend group. So if you're maybe familiar with Jacob AlphaRad or Jaden Animations, Siren is familiar with that crowd, or mostly does content with that crowd. So if you weren't familiar with Siren, you'll probably know some people that Siren is friends with, if that makes sense. Also knows Fur, CJ, Della, etc. Some people who've played pretty commonly in Block Wars as of recent, especially this year. So, either way, Curry and Hannah obviously is a pretty standout duo. We kind of assumed, looking at the overall roster for this event, which I'll pull up shortly as well, we kind of assumed that they were going to be two of the standout high-end players that would lead their own teams. However, they're on the same team. Though obviously, Siren hasn't played MCC before. I think most of Siren's Minecraft experience is SMP based content, so that probably means that they will have a bit of a rough time for the first time playing MCC, though I would say that Wolfeei and Hannah are pretty good people to have for your first event in terms of leadership. And then Tina did play semi-recently in MCC, I think, right? Technically. Did she? Maybe I'm lying. No, I think I'm wrong. She played in Ender Cup, but she did well in Ender Cup. So Tina has some experience at least playing MCC. This will be Tina's first time on the big stage, on the main stage for MCC. I don't think she's been in a Twitch Rivals before, but I'm excited to see her on this team as well. I think Tina is one of my favorite people to see in MCC just because of the energy that she brings to the team usually. Same with Foolish, of course. So very fun team. Will be pretty interesting. This one will be very game dependent in terms of how well it performs, because I think if you have, some of the games where Curry and Hannah can put in the work to lead the team, I think that'll be very beneficial, but maybe some of the more individual based games could be a little bit trickier. Anyways, the next team is the Yellow Yaks, which is a full Misadventures team from the Misadventures SMP. Also a full boys team, the boys time. It's the boys. Consisting of Cam Bam, Martin in the Littlewood, Jimmy Solidarity Gaming, and Ollie the Orion Sound. Cam Bam. I've been told Cam Bam doesn't like being called just Cam, so I will try to say Cam Bam, though. I will also mention that I met Cam as Cam before I knew that he was Cam Bam, so if I say Cam, I'm sorry. Cam Bam is a newcomer for this event, is Scott's partner as well, very notable, of course. It is safe to assume that this was Rendog's previous slot, because Rendog ended up subbing out and Cam Bam ended up subbing in, so that makes sense considering Martin is on this team. This team is pretty solid, honestly, kind of similar to Red in the sense of they have no standout top frag, but they have 3 people who I would say are pretty like middle tier, maybe higher middle tier, with Martin, Jimmy, and Ollie. And then Cam Bam is a newcomer in this instance who I don't really know how well experienced they are at Minecraft. I'm going to assume probably on the middle or maybe lower middle end, but maybe Cam Bam is the GOAT. We don't know. I mean, maybe Scott would know, but I have no clue. So we'll see how well the team does. I think it'll be a fun one though, regardless, because I think just the vibes from at least the way they've, responded to the tweets, and also just the fact that they're all from the same SMP is very promising. I think that'll be a very fun squad altogether. So very fun, very cool. Next up though is the Lime team. This is most likely a standout team to perform quite well. I don't want to like fully, commit to that opinion just yet before I analyze the team, but the team consists of 5up, Michaela, Lewis Fulham, and Toby Tubbo. Which is a very solid squad. 5up has not played an MCC since his very, very prominent improvement arc in Minecraft events. So that means there is a potential slight bit of underrating going on in terms of statistics. Then Lewis has only played once before, which was the previous Twitch Rivals EU event, where he also didn't have like the best team, also didn't, I think, have the strongest performance, maybe not the best representation of his skill, plus this is a weaker roster, so I think Lewis also could have a bit of an underrating moment going on here. Toby also hasn't had necessarily the strongest MCC performances recently, so that could also be a bit of an underrating experience, especially considering Toby is now getting into MCSR ranked, which is going to be super fun to see how that translates over to maybe a slight improvement at Minecraft events. But yeah, Lewis and Toby have been doing a bunch of content recently. 5up and Toby being on the same team makes sense. And then Michaela slots in very nicely here as well. Michaela makes a lot of sense to be on this team. I don't know if Michaela has played much in terms of Minecraft events recently. I don't think she would. I think she subbed out of the last MCC. I don't recall if she was in Party 2. And then there would have been Twitch Rivals. She probably was in Twitch Rivals if I had to guess. So at the earliest, most recent event, it would have been, Twitch Rivals NA probably for Michaela, if I had to guess, but maybe they played a more recent event. I don't know. Either way, this should be a pretty solid team. This is a similar structure to the red team and the yellow team. However, the difference is as much as it's not shown in the stats, I am confident that 5up is a solid lead player to have on the team. I actually think 5up in MCC could end up being a top frag very soon. I don't think he will be yet, but he could adjust to being a top frag pretty soon, so that is very exciting. Fun team though, W team. This is probably the one I'll be rooting for, one of the most at least. Obviously repeat teammates, or more so my repeat winner teammate would be cool, although I am also of the belief that it would be kind of lame if somebody got 2 crowns and when it's such a rare thing to win, but whatever, right? But obviously rooting for 5up, and of course also rooting for Jeremy to win back-to-back. So far at least every team I'm rooting for, including even the German team, which is running it back for the most part. Cast Crafter on this team being the newcomer, who replaces, I think, Fabo, who was previously on this team. For the rest, it's Let's Hugo, Noriax, and Wichtiger. Wichtiger I've spoken to at least a little bit over the past, year or so, on and off. Yeah, I think this will be a really fun team. Of course, these guys are all familiar with each other. Should be a fun group to see as a returning squad. Definitely the standout best team thus far. considering they already were very dominant last year in a much higher comp event with a lower comp overall roster and barely any change to the team. I would be surprised if we don't see 3 people here get top 10 again, if not 4. Actually, probably 2 guaranteed. I think Noriex and Wichtiger are like almost guaranteed getting top 10, assuming that the game roster isn't like very weird, because from the page it seemed like there was maybe some weird stuff going on. But yes, this will be a very strong team. This is most likely a top 2 guaranteed. We won't know for sure, but it is a very likely top 2 guaranteed team. And overall, very exciting. Either way, 1 second. Okay, we're back. So I just had to pull up this tab real quick. There is a handful, or there are a handful of people who are who have yet to be announced. Most notably, like Pangy and Sandwich haven't been announced yet. We don't know what Shadoon's team is just yet. We know there's a French team, obviously, but like there is a lot of firepower in terms of the roster left. So it'll be very interesting to see what the rest of the team shape up to be. Joel also not been announced yet. Scott hasn't been announced yet. So should be very interesting. And Callum as well, and Phil. So as you can tell, quite a lot of, and Owen, quite a lot of pretty prominent players. Quite a lot of people have not been announced just yet, so it'll be exciting to see what the rest of the roster looks like. We'll be live today at 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. BST, roughly, to chat about MCC and to also put in our predictions for who we think will be on which team, etc. Either way, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.